Hello, I'm Jeff MacDonald, correspondent for the Living Church, and I am here at General Convention with Carrie Boren Headington, who is the Missioner for Evangelism with the Diocese of Dallas. And we're going to talk a little bit about your arrival here and what you're doing at General Convention.
Yes, this is my first time to be a delegate, and I'm loving it so far. This is day 2. We started committee work yesterday. I'm serving on the Evangelism Communications Committee, and we had our session yesterday where we introduced one another and met each other and got to hear why we care about evangelism. And then we started at 7 a.m. this morning looking at some key legislation that I'm really excited about.
We want to hear about this. What did you say first off when you had the chance to say what excites you about evangelism?
Well, I talked about the work I've been doing the past 10 years in the Diocese of Dallas. I've had the opportunity to be a full-time evangelist in a diocese, and so I get to proclaim the good news, and then my main passion is to equip the church in how to reach out for Christ with the good news. So we train individuals in their everyday lives. What is the gospel story? What is our personal faith story? How do we start a spiritual conversation? How do we reach out to our neighbors, our friends, our colleagues at work, places where we frequent? How do we engage people with the good news of Jesus and begin that spiritual journey with them? So we equip individuals in their everyday lives. I mean, many Episcopalians, I think, particularly in my part of the country, say, well, either evangelism is the work of the priest, or evangelism is something other denominations do, but we don't really do it. And what my passion is to get back to our Anglican tradition, our Christian tradition of being missionaries, being ambassadors for Christ, and that we all have that call. And the second part is to work with parishes and equipping parishes to have a mission vision, how to be intentional, how to intentionally proclaim and be good news in our communities.
Can you tell us a little about the initiative? What's, in a nutshell, what is General Convention considering that you believe could make a big difference in evangelism?
Yes, we are considering, well, there are 4 pieces of key legislation that I'm incredibly excited about. The first one we looked at this morning through the that will be coming through the House of Deputies is D0019. It is an evangelism, it's creating a social media platform. It's an evangelism social media platform for the Episcopal Church. And what it's going to do is it's really establishing the harvest. So people who get online and say, who is God, or who is Jesus, or how do I deal with my teenager who has questions about God? I want to know more. How do I pray? I'm going through a hard time. Is God there? Is God real? We are capturing, they call them micro moments, and we are going to create a database of people who are Googling and asking those questions, and then we are going to reach out to them with social media and with videos and with a personal touch through the internet to say there's a church near you where you can go and encounter God and begin to have your questions answered. If you are seeking, we have a home for you.
Is that an advertising? Is we talk about Google advertising here? Is that part of it?
Yes. You know, I think Nike would call it Google advertising. We see it as evangelism through the internet. And if you think about it, from the beginning of time, the church has always used innovations in communication.
Yeah.
And so whether it's the innovation of the printing press or of the internet. And now this amazing technology can capture people and find people who have questions, who might not ever darken the door of a church. And we are going after those who are lost and who are searching. And we're saying, what you're searching for has been made known. It's that Pauline way of going out and reaching out to those who are spiritually hungry.
So there's a new task force on evangelism that the convention is putting together, is that right?
That is exactly right. We are looking at legislation A0087 specifically to create a task force specifically on evangelism for the Episcopal Church. This, I think this is so important and so necessary. You know, in our diocese particularly, we have a full-time staff person committed to equipping the church and how to evangelize, personally in their everyday lives, and as parishes, how to have an intentional evangelism plan. We need this for the entire Episcopal Church. We need for every parish and every diocese to be equipped in how to share the good news and to think missionally. And this task force will meet and will equip dioceses and provide resources, provide up-to-date resources in some of the best ways to reach our communities. So this is really important. We need to come together across the Episcopal Church and look at how do we engage our culture. What is the gospel we are to share? How do we equip individuals to share it? How do we equip parish bodies to share it? And what are the best resources out there? I have found that as they begin to step into those waters of knowing their call to be an ambassador, knowing that they're called to be a missionary in their workplace, in their home, in their community, it's people usually catch the bug, and it becomes an adventure with God. And so they might show up because their rector said, you're on the vestry, you have to go to this evangelism class. But as they begin to grasp that they get to participate in God's work in the world, I see congregations come to life.
And I'm fascinated by the possibilities here because I come from Massachusetts.
Yeah.
My region, the New England, has become the most unchurched secular region of the country, even more so than the Pacific Northwest.
Yes.
So you're in Dallas, where people spread the good news, and it's kind of part of life there for some, at least.
Yes.
Not so much in Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Vermont.
Right.
Can what you're talking about actually catch fire in those parts of the country and in Oregon and Washington, other places where the cultures are so different from North Texas?
Absolutely. I've had the great privilege. I started out doing evangelism in England and spent 3 years in England in parishes that truly were on the verge of shutting their doors, couldn't even afford to keep their heat on. And we began just some basic thinking about, even if they had a leadership of 5 people, having them pray of 3 to 5 people who they might be able to engage, even to invite into their home. Then we began to think about how they could be a blessing to their community. And slowly, it's amazing to me, but it's true. Usually the minute the parishes begin to step out beyond their church walls, life comes in, and it might be slow, and that's okay. Our job is to be faithful. God is the great evangelist. We are the seed sowers. So we sow the seeds, and He is the one who does the heavy lifting. So our job is to be faithful. We might not see results right away, but results will come because people are longing to know the Lord. I spent a number of years in Boston and a number of years in Connecticut, and the same principle applies. As Christians begin to intentionally pray for those who do not know him, and ask God's wisdom and how to reach out. I mean, it could be, there's so many creative ways to do it. Sometimes, going to the local pub and saying, come grill the Christian, come with your questions, but creating space where people can come and ask questions, and then we are there to journey with them.
As you look at this moment in Episcopal Church history, the sort of looking ahead and looking at the opportunities, looking where the church has been, and the hurdles that the church has overcome in the last 10 to 20 years, and the way society has changed technologically, culturally, generationally. What's the real stakes here? What would you say is what's so important about galvanizing some strategies and some techniques and some tools now? Is it the same as it would have been if I had asked you this question in the year 100 AD, or is it different now?
It's different, and it's the same. I think even starting as Missioner for Evangelism 10 years ago, we're looking at a different spiritual landscape. Back then, people were saying people are spiritually hungry, and we were there to meet them. Now, the recent Pew Research shows that there's been an increase, even in the past 7 years, of people who do not want to identify themselves with the Christian faith, who do not want to identify themselves with the church. We have to ask ourselves, why not? And so I see a culture that is more and more adrift and more lost. And the church needs to proclaim and to show that God is alive, that you can know him, and that he is with you, and he longs to transform your life. I mean, in a sense, right after the resurrection of Jesus, that was the good news then. Mm-hmm. It's the same good news. But I feel that, I feel there's an ache in our country, and the statistics are showing it. And we as the church, we don't need to dilute the gospel to accommodate the culture. What we need to do is to bring the gift of the gospel to the culture.
And what's the key to credibility in that? What does the church need to do to be a credible deliverer of that message?
We need to live it. And I think the memorial to the church, which has been written to us, is to call us back to be a people of prayer, to be people rooted in the scriptures, and to be people who are living out the scriptures. If our lives as Christians are the exact same as everyone else's life, then they won't be able to see it. Today, people want to see authentic followers of Jesus. What does that mean? That means we live differently in the way we use our resources, material goods. We are radical givers. We give people time. We are radically hospitable. We work for reconciliation, racial reconciliation in our cities. We work for justice. And we talk about God not being distant, not being on the periphery, but God calling people to place God in the center of their lives, as opposed to, I'm going to do it my way, I'm going to live my life the way I want to live my life, away from ego and a life yearning and holding on to God and seeking after God. We are not perfect. We are fallen, broken human beings. But as the church, if we can say, as broken, weak humans, we are followers of Jesus who are seeking after him. We do not model his call to perfection perfectly, but we are a people together yearning to live out that life.
Thank you, Carrie, for coming and
Thank
talking
you
with us.
so much.
It's been such a pleasure.
Thank you. You too.